My mom told me straight up, "You're not welcome at Christmas." I shot back, "Well, you're not welcome to my wallet," and blocked her number. That wasn't the end of it. "Hey Reddit, I'm Ethan, 35, and I work as a network engineer for a mid-sized IT company. I'm not rolling in dough, but I make around $68,000 a year, which goes a long way in my city. Still, for as long as I can remember, I've basically been treated like my family's personal ATM. And I mean that literally goes back years. As a kid, I was always the responsible one. My older brother, Logan, he's 36 now, was the golden boy who could do no wrong. Mom always had this blind spot for him. Me? I'd get chewed out for breathing too loud. At 17, I landed a weekend gig fixing computers at a local repair shop. That's when it all began, Mom dipping into my paychecks under the excuse of helping with household bills. Meanwhile, Logan was blowing his cash on weed and whatever new video game came out. By the time I graduated college, something I paid for entirely through scholarships and grinding night shifts at a 24-hour diner, the pattern was locked in. Mom needed help with her car again. Logan needed bail. The roof leaked. Logan lost another job. Nowadays, I do okay financially. Not rich, but comfortable enough to buy a small condo last year. Still, my family's been draining me dry. I did the math once. In just the past 3 years, I've handed them over $39,000. The worst part? They acted like it was their right. It was never framed as appreciation, just demand. My mom wouldn't even say thanks. It'd be, "I need $550 for the electric bill," or, "The car's in the shop, it's $1,100. Logan, who still lives with her at 36, might as well be 40 with the way he acts. He can't hold down a job for more than a couple of months. Always going on about networking or chasing some vague new opportunity, which usually translates to him gaming all day with his crew of losers. The guy even asked me for $3,000 to launch some dropshipping scam that was clearly dead on arrival. Every now and then, Mom's friend Carol would mention how she bragged to her church group about her son's success, while simultaneously sending me frantic texts begging for money. Never once did she tell them that I was basically footing the bill for 2 grown adults. The breaking point came with this massive wall of text message from my mom. You know the kind. A whole novella just to say, "I need $1,000 for property taxes." Same taxes she pays every year, mind you. But this time she threw in a heavy guilt trip, "If you can't help, I don't know what I'll do. Your brother's struggling too. You know I count on you, Ethan. That's what family does." That line broke something in me. She wasn't asking for support. She was dropping her entire financial crisis on my shoulders like it was my job to fix it. And this came right after I'd gotten slapped with a $2,200 bill for water damage in my condo, something my insurance wouldn't fully cover. That night, sitting alone in my living room, staring at my phone, it hit me all at once. I wasn't their son. I was their emergency fund. They didn't care how I was doing. Didn't check in. Didn't ask if I needed anything. Just kept taking like I owed them a lifetime subscription. So I made a decision. I was done. No more being their financial safety net. No more guilt-tripped handouts. But I didn't want a dramatic fallout. I figured I'd just start easing out. Take a step back quietly. First move? Stop answering every call the second it came in. Then I started giving less and less when they asked for money. I hoped they'd catch on without me needing to have a full-blown showdown. Because this wasn't just about the cash. It was about respect. About being treated like a human being and not some unlimited debit card. It was about finally drawing boundaries that should have been in place a long time ago. When I scrolled through old texts, it was plain as day. Hundreds of messages, all asking for money. Almost none asking how I was. Last year on my birthday, Mom sent me a quick, "Happy birthday," immediately followed by the way, "Can you help with the water bill this month?" Logan didn't even remember it at all. Every holiday became a trap. They'd wait until the whole family was there, then casually bring up some new financial disaster, trying to guilt me into handing over cash in front of everyone. I went back through my bank records, 5 whole years of it. Month after month, money pouring out. Started small, maybe $250 here, $400 there. But it ballooned. Some months? Over $1,000. Even my dating life took a hit. I was seeing this girl Olivia for a few months last year. Smart, kind, she had her life together. But when she saw how often I was sending money to my family, she sat me down and told me it wasn't healthy. I defended them. Told her it was just how family worked. Looking back, she was absolutely right. The day after that property tax text, I ignored it. Mom called 4 times. I let every call go to voicemail. Each message got more intense. Started with, "Ethan, please call me back." Then it became, "I don't know what I'll do if you don't help me." And finally, "I guess you don't care about your family anymore." That last one actually made me laugh. Because for once, they were right. I was starting not to care. You go through years of being emotionally blackmailed and eventually something in you shuts off. And that whole quiet exit plan? Yeah, that went up in flames. The moment I started ignoring calls and saying no, the pressure doubled. First it was, I'm not able to help right now. Then it became, I'm not in a position to give you any more money. Eventually, I just stopped answering altogether. Didn't matter. They kept coming like vultures circling roadkill. Thanksgiving was my first real test. I told my mom I had to work, total lie. I just needed space. She flipped out talking about how holidays are for family. What she really meant was she'd planned a whole Christmas money ambush and needed me in the room to seal the deal. So instead, I stayed in. Ordered a pizza. Watched a full season of TV in one sitting. And you know what? Best holiday I've had in years. No guilt. No drama. No handouts. Just quiet. She called that night in tears, going on about how empty the house felt without me. Said Logan was heartbroken. Asked how I could abandon them like that. I almost broke until I heard Logan in the background asking if I'd sent the money yet. That snapped me out of it fast. December hit hard. The requests piled up as Christmas came closer. Car repairs, medical stuff, mortgage payments, everyone in urgent crisis. I started blocking their numbers from my main screen. Moved their texts to a filtered folder I'd only check once a day. My stress levels dropped. I could finally breathe again. Then came December 23rd. My mom called in a total panic. Told me she'd already told everyone I'd be bringing the Christmas ham and that I was helping Logan with his car note. I kept calm and told her flat out I couldn't do it. They were going to have to figure this one out on their own. She told me I was no longer welcome at Christmas. Said she couldn't believe I'd turned my back on my own flesh and blood after everything she'd supposedly done for me. That one stung, I won't lie. But I didn't let her see it. I just calmly said I was done and hung up the phone. One of my coworkers, Ryan, who I've grown pretty close to, heard I'd be spending the holidays alone and immediately invited me over. His wife, Lena, couldn't have been more welcoming. She made sure I felt like I belonged from the moment I walked in. It felt strange at first, spending Christmas surrounded by someone else's family, but honestly, it was way less stressful than any holiday I've ever had with my own. Ryan's family opened my eyes. His dad had helped him with a down payment for a car once, and Ryan paid him back in full. No drama. No guilt trips. No surprise emergencies needing money. They just sat around, laughed, ate good food, and genuinely enjoyed being together. Is that how normal families function? Because that blew my mind. During dinner, Lena noticed I was being a bit quiet and asked if I was okay. I ended up opening up about everything, how my family treated me, all the financial pressure, the guilt, and instead of side eyes or judgment, they actually got it. They understood. Ryan's mom even chimed in, saying her brother had done something similar to their parents before they finally cut ties with him too. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I wasn't the crazy one for wanting boundaries. Meanwhile, I scrolled through social media later that night and saw my family posting their picture-perfect holiday photos. My mom had the nerve to caption one perfect family Christmas with Logan grinning like an idiot next to her. That stirred up a whole mess of feelings, anger, sadness, a bit of resentment. But above all, I felt free. Like someone had lifted a cinder block off my chest. I still sent a present to my niece, Logan's daughter from an old relationship. She lives with her mom across the country and Logan barely makes an effort to stay in her life. I didn't want her thinking I forgot her. She didn't do anything wrong. But of course, that wasn't the end of it. About a week later, Logan texted me asking for $1,600 to keep his car from getting repossessed. Swore up and down he'd pay me back once he started this new job next month. I didn't even bother responding. Same song, different verse. The moment I stopped enabling them, they completely short-circuited. On New Year's Eve, I got a guilt-laced text from Mom. Something like, hope you're enjoying time with your new friends while your real family suffers. That was it for me. I blocked her number that same night. New year, new rules. Logan tried a new tactic. Called from some random friend's phone. Pretending it was urgent. I answered, thinking it might be something serious, but nope. He launched into some sob story about being evicted. I hung up the second I realized it was him. He kept calling 7 times in a row. The next day, I changed my number entirely. Only shared the new one with people I genuinely trusted. And let me tell you, the silence was golden. No constant dings. No manipulative texts. Just peace. I could finally focus at work again. Sleep better. I even started hitting the gym. But yeah, those first few weeks were rough emotionally. My mom wasn't done, though. She started recruiting extended family to guilt me back into submission. My cousin Caleb called me up, saying Mom was going around telling everyone I'd abandoned the family. I explained the real story, how they'd been using me for years like some kind of human cash machine, and surprisingly, Caleb understood. Turns out, Mom had done similar stuff to his dad, my Uncle Martin, years back. Caleb spilled some things I never knew. Apparently, Mom had borrowed thousands from Uncle Martin over the years and never paid him back. And when he finally said no, she started spreading lies about how selfish and heartless he was. Sounded familiar. Then came the Facebook posts. Vague, petty nonsense like, "Some people forget where they came from," and "Blood is thicker than water, but some hearts are made of stone." Real subtle, Mom. She even posted an old photo of me as a kid with the caption, "Remember when family still meant something to you?" That was the final straw. I blocked her there too. The emotional blackmail was next level. My Aunt Cheryl, who I honestly thought was one of the normal ones, called me to hear my side. But within 2 minutes, I could tell Mom had already twisted the narrative. Cheryl kept repeating things like, "But she's still your mother," and "Family sticks together." I finally cut in and asked, "Is she asking you for money too?" The silence on the other end spoke volumes. Even so, I stuck to my guns. No returned calls. No texts. No apologies. I was done. And while it wasn't easy, it felt right. There were moments I doubted myself. Wondered if I had gone too far. Questioned if maybe I had overreacted. After all, they were still my family. But then I'd remind myself of all the times they took from me without caring how it affected me. All the emotional manipulation, the guilt trips, the entitlement. And like clockwork, the guilt would shrink away. I'd been way too forgiving for way too long. And it became glaringly obvious they didn't respect me. Just the money I could give. I rang in the new year with Ryan and a couple of other friends. It was low-key, just some video games, snacks, and actual joy. No pressure. No shame. Just people who cared. But Mom wasn't done. The guilt texts kept coming. Stuff like, "It's sad you're no longer part of the family," and "Logan keeps asking when you'll come home." Then the classic, "Maybe it's time to forgive us. I'm worried about you, Ethan. This isn't like you." I didn't reply, but I'd be lying if I said those messages didn't get under my skin. I started wondering, was I being too cold? My other coworker, Diego, noticed something was off with me at work. I ended up sharing a bit about what was going on, and he opened up too. In his culture, helping family financially is totally normal, but it comes with mutual respect. Boundaries are honored. Help is given both ways. He said his parents had supported him through college, and now he helped them out. But it was never one-sided. That really stuck with me. It wasn't about refusing to support family. It was about setting limits with people who abused the help. Even still, my mind would spiral sometimes, wondering if I'd abandoned them, if I'd become the villain. So I started journaling every night, writing down all the times they guilt me, all the unfair requests, all the times they made me feel like less than human when I couldn't give them what they wanted. That helped more than I thought it would. Gave me clarity when the doubt crept in. Then one day, I got an email from Nicole, Logan's ex, and my niece's mom. She thanked me for the gift I sent and casually mentioned Logan hadn't paid a cent of child support in over a year. Meanwhile, he was online showing off pictures of his brand new gaming setup. That hit me hard. While he was crying broke to me, begging for money to keep his car, he was out there blowing cash on luxury electronics. Not even his daughter made the priority list. So I sent Nicole some extra money to help out with my niece, and let her know I'd be staying in touch more often from now on. That little girl didn't deserve to be forgotten just because her dad was a screw-up. She's innocent in all this. January dragged on, slow and heavy. The texts from Mom started tapering off, but the drama level, way up. Suddenly she was very sick. Then she might lose the house. Tossed in some vague medical scare for good measure. Every message was crafted like a fishing hook, trying to reel me back in with just the right pull on my guilt. I ignored every one of them. Mid-January, I was cooking dinner when my phone rang. It was Mom. My heart was pounding as I picked up. She started off soft, real quiet, almost like she'd been crying. Said she'd been thinking a lot, that she regretted what she'd said. Told me they all missed me and wanted to fix things. For a second, I actually considered that maybe, just maybe, she meant it. But then she shifted gears. Suddenly it was all about how hard things had gotten. Logan had already lost the new job. The landlord was threatening eviction. She didn't know what to do. I just sat there for a moment, silent. I'd heard this exact script before. They only remember I exist when their world's falling apart. The rest of the time? Radio silence. I finally spoke. Told her I wasn't her personal piggy bank anymore. Reminded her that I'd given over 39 grand in just a few years, and yet it somehow was never enough. Said I'd made up my mind. There was a long, heavy pause. Then her voice turned sharp. Ice cold. She told me to stay gone. Accused me of thinking I was better than the rest of them, bragging about my fancy job and shiny condo. Said one day I'd realize family was all I had and I'd come crawling back. That stung, but strangely, I didn't feel sad this time. I felt steady. That was the first time I truly stood my ground. And it felt right. I ended the call without another word. The next day, I started getting calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I picked up one. It was Mom using someone else's phone. Another was Logan calling from his job. I blocked each one as they came in. That's when I decided to get ahead of things. Called my bank and added extra security to my accounts. Changed all my passwords. Signed up for credit monitoring. Something told me they wouldn't go down quietly and I wasn't taking any chances. Sure enough, I came home a few days later to find a letter taped to my front door. 6 handwritten pages of straight-up guilt-tripping. Everything from "I gave up everything for you" to "I must have failed as a mother" to "If Logan ends up on the street, it'll be your fault." I read the first few lines, then tossed it straight in the trash. The next day, there was another one. And another the day after that. I talked to my building manager and asked if they could keep her out of the building. They agreed. That didn't stop her, though. She just switched to mailing the guilt instead of hand-delivering it. I kept the letters in a box but never opened them. Then Logan tried his own rebranding. He texted me from a new number saying he'd done a lot of reflecting. Said he realized how much he'd taken advantage of me. Admitted he never paid me back and that he wanted to change. Claimed he wasn't asking for money, just a second chance to rebuild our relationship. For a brief moment, I actually bought it. I thought maybe, just maybe, me finally drawing boundaries had gotten through to him. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop that weekend. He showed up looking better than he had in years. Fresh haircut, clean clothes, even arrived on time, first time for everything, I guess. For 20 solid minutes, he was the version of a brother I always wished I'd had. Asked about my job, remembered my recent promotion, even asked how my friends were doing. Then came the twist. His tone shifted and he started talking about this amazing business opportunity. Said he just needed a $6,000 investment to get it off the ground. Promised guaranteed returns. Claimed his buddy was already raking it in. Yup. There it was. The whole apology had just been a setup for another handout. I didn't let him finish. I stood up mid-sentence, told him he'd wasted my time, and walked right out. He spammed my phone afterward, flip-flopping between "I'm sorry" and "You're such a selfish piece of crap." That night, I looked up the business he'd pitched. No surprise, it was a pyramid scheme. The guy hadn't changed one bit. February rolled in. A full month of me holding the line. It was exhausting, constantly deflecting the guilt and manipulation, but it was working. Slowly, things were getting easier. Ryan and Lena had me over for dinner more often. I started making new friends, joined a gaming group, even started indoor rock climbing at this gym near my place. I finally had a social circle that didn't revolve around guilt and emotional obligation. That's when I met Ava, Lena's friend from college. We hit it off right away. On our third date, I told her everything about my family. I braced myself for that look of judgment. But instead, she just nodded. Said her dad was the same way, always taking, never giving. She understood completely. After that, we started seeing each other more regularly. The next few weeks were surprisingly peaceful. Logan went quiet, which didn't surprise me. Mom sent a few scattered guilt texts, but I ignored every one. I was sticking to my boundaries. And for the first time in my life, I was learning what normal looked like. Turns out, wanting respect and limits isn't selfish, it's just basic. Then, one morning at work, I got a call from another unknown number. Something in my gut said to pick up. It was Mom. Her voice was thin, shaky. She said she needed help. I asked what it was this time. She admitted she needed $2,500 for the mortgage. I could hear the panic in her voice, but I wasn't falling for it. Same crisis, different week. I told her straight, I wasn't getting involved. I said I felt bad she was struggling, but it wasn't mine to fix. Told her she and Logan had to sort out their lives without me. Then I hung up, and for the first time in years, I felt truly calm. I'd taken back control. No more guilt games. No more emotional blackmail. Sure, I knew they'd be furious. Maybe even say they hated me. But I wasn't scared of their reaction anymore. I was finally free. But it didn't end there. Later that afternoon, Mom showed up at my office building. She was crying to the receptionist, saying she needed to see her son. I was in a meeting when my boss came in and told me there was a situation out front. I had to explain to my entire team why my mother was sobbing in our lobby. Easily the most humiliating moment of my professional life. Security had to escort her out when she wouldn't leave. Even then, she screamed the whole way out, shouting about how ungrateful I was and how much she'd done for me. Thankfully, my boss, Greg, was chill about it. Turns out his brother-in-law is a lot like my family, constantly begging for money and stirring up drama. Greg told me to take the rest of the day to deal with things. When I got to the parking lot, there she was leaning against my car, mascara streaked down her cheeks. For a split second, I felt that old pull of sympathy. But then she opened her mouth and launched into the same old routine. Same speech. Same guilt. Same manipulation. I cut her off and told her what she really needed wasn't financial help but actual therapy. I said her whole view on money and family was toxic and that she needed to work through it. She looked like I'd slapped her. Said I was the one with issues, not her. But I didn't argue. I just got in my car and drove away without raising my voice, without making a scene. As I drove off, I caught a glimpse of her snapping pictures of my license plate. It was a strange move, but at the time I brushed it off. That night, Ava came over. Having her there meant the world to me. She didn't scold me or say I was being too harsh, just listened and reminded me I had every right to protect myself. The next morning, my card got declined at the gas station. That made no sense, there was plenty of credit available. I called the bank, thinking it was a glitch. Turns out, someone had tried maxing out my card overnight with a bunch of online purchases. The bank flagged it as fraud and froze the account. When I asked where the stuff was being shipped to, my stomach dropped. It was my mom's address. I was furious. I filed a police report on the spot. Changed every password I had. Added a fraud alert to my credit. The bank reversed the charges, thankfully. But at that point, it was clear my family was done playing nice. They were moving into dangerous territory. I sent my mom a text asking what the hell she was doing. She denied it all, of course. Claimed I was making up lies to make her look bad. Textbook gaslighting. Things went quiet for about a week. I let myself think maybe, just maybe, they got the message. But I was wrong. 2 days after the office meltdown, Logan called from yet another unknown number. He was slurring his words, clearly drunk in the middle of the afternoon on a Tuesday. Started yelling, accusing me of being arrogant. Said mom was falling apart because of me. I kept my cool and told him maybe he should try acting like someone his age. He's 36, not a teenager. He fired back that mom had sacrificed everything for me and this is how I repaid her. I actually laughed and asked what exactly she sacrificed because I paid my own way through school, bought my own car, bought my condo while he was still playing video games in her basement pushing 40. He snapped that they didn't need my money anyway and said he had something big in the works. I didn't think much of it at first. Logan was always going on about some big break right around the corner. But something about his tone stuck with me. He didn't sound desperate. He sounded smug. A few days later, I got a call from the bank. More suspicious activity. Someone tried setting up automatic payments from my checking account for bills I'd never heard of. The routing info matched mine, but the signatures were bogus. I froze everything on the spot. Filed another police report. The fraud investigator told me it looked like identity theft and likely from someone with direct access to my personal information. Gee, I wonder who that could be. That same week, my credit monitoring service blew up with alerts. Multiple credit inquiries. Credit card applications. Loan attempts. All in my name. A month went by. I was spending more time with Ryan and Ava. Things felt like they were finally turning around. Then I got the call from my cousin Caleb and everything made sense. Logan had been arrested. He'd been caught running a check fraud scheme using my name and social security number. My stomach dropped. I logged into my credit report and there it was 5 accounts I didn't recognize. He'd stolen my identity. I was furious. But thankfully, I'd already frozen my credit as a precaution when I first cut them off. That limited the damage. Still, I marched straight to the police department and filed full identity theft charges. I brought every document I had. The detective told me this wasn't Logan's first time doing this. He had priors for the same kind of scams. The next day, Mom called me bawling. Begged me to help Logan. Said he could face serious prison time. I told her calmly that I was the one who turned in the final evidence that got him arrested. The line went dead. She was stunned. Couldn't believe I'd actually pressed charges on my own brother. I reminded her that Logan had stolen my identity, wrecked my credit, and tried to destroy everything I'd worked for. She didn't care. Just started yelling again, blaming me for tearing the family apart. Said I'd regret it one day. I hung up. Later, the detective called back with more details. Turns out Logan had been using my information for months, some of it even before I stopped giving him money. He'd opened credit lines, taken out loans, even leased a car in my name. But the part that hit the hardest? My mom knew. She'd helped him get old documents, my social security card, my birth certificate from her files. She even drove him to the bank where he used a fake ID to open an account under my name. That broke something in me. After that, the messages came nonstop. Mom begging. Relatives I barely knew messaging me asking me to forgive him. I ignored them all. Blocked every number. Logan was denied bail because of his priors and the flight risk. He's now facing a solid 5 to 7 year sentence. Then came the real twist. Turns out Mom had co-signed on some of Logan's scams. Her name was on documents tied to multiple fake accounts. The police investigation uncovered that she wasn't just looking the other way, she was in on it. Now she was facing her own criminal charges. A couple of weeks later, I got a letter from her lawyer. She was begging me to testify in her favor. Said she was a good mom who just got pulled into her son's mess. Claimed she'd lose the house if I didn't help. I wrote back 3 words, not my problem. Ryan thought I was being too cold. He said, she's still your mom. I looked at him and said, you mean the same mom who helped steal my identity? Who humiliated me at work? Who emotionally blackmailed me for years? He didn't bring it up again. The trial moved fast. Logan pled guilty to get a lighter sentence. Mom somehow landed a decent lawyer, no idea who paid for it, and got a plea deal. No prison time, just probation. But still, a felony on her record. Eventually, I visited Logan in jail. Not because I forgave him. I just wanted answers. He admitted it started out as a one-time thing to help him get back on track. Said he planned to fix it before I ever noticed. I reminded him that's exactly what he used to say about all the money I lent him. He looked ashamed. Apologized for real this time. I didn't say, I forgive you. Because I don't. But at least he finally owned up to what he did. The whole visit felt surreal. Seeing my brother, someone who once taught me how to ride a bike, sitting in jail behind thick glass. The guy who had my back in middle school when I got picked on. Before everything got ruined by money and Mom's favoritism. For a second, the old guilt started crawling back in, those childhood memories trying to rewrite the present. But then I thought about the $39,000 I'd given. The endless manipulation. The damage he could have done to my future. And just like that, the guilt was gone. Mom got stuck with probation and community service. Lost the house anyway. She's living with my aunt now. Still sends me manipulative messages, but I don't open them anymore. About a month later, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked older, worn out, like the years had finally caught up with her. She tried to strike up a casual conversation like none of it had ever happened. Asked how work was going. Asked about my condo. I kept it short. Polite, but cold. As I turned to leave, she said, I only ever wanted what was best for our family. I looked at her and replied, no, you wanted what was best for you. It wasn't some explosive, dramatic showdown like I used to imagine. It was just sad. 2 people who used to be family now standing there like strangers. That was 5 months ago. Since then, things have turned around. My credit is back in good shape. Ava and I are still going strong. It's getting pretty serious. I've been slowly figuring out what healthy, normal family dynamics actually look like. Her parents are amazing. They're supportive, but they don't overstep. When they come visit, they show up with groceries and smiles, not bills and guilt. They ask how I'm doing and genuinely listen when I answer. Crazy concept, right? Last month, I got promoted at work. First person I called was Ryan. Not Mom. Not Logan. Funny how the people who truly care about you, not what you can give, are the ones you want to share your good news with. Of course, some days still get to me. Mother's Day was rough. So was Logan's birthday. Old emotional habits are hard to break. Sometimes I hear that nagging voice whispering, you abandoned your family when they needed you. But then I remember they weren't treating me like family. They were treating me like a walking cash dispenser. And you know what? Even ATMs get to go offline sometimes. I still think about them every now and then. Wonder if there was something I could have done differently. If there was a path where this didn't have to happen. But then I remind myself I didn't tear this family apart. I just stopped letting them tear me apart. Looking back, cutting them off was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Not out of revenge. Not to punish them. But because I finally realized I was allowed to want better. We all are. That $39,000 I estimated they drained from me over 3 years? Since going no contact, I've already managed to save almost half of that. I'm planning a trip to Japan next year, something I've dreamed about forever but could never justify financially. Funny how that works out when no one's bleeding you dry every month. Last week, I got a letter from Logan. He's been in prison for almost a year now. Said he's been taking classes, going to therapy. Trying to figure out why he became the person he did. Said he doesn't expect me to forgive him. Just wanted me to know he finally understands why I had to do what I did. And part of me wants to believe he's being real. Somewhere underneath all the manipulation and excuses, I hope the brother I once knew still exists. But trust doesn't bounce back overnight. Maybe someday we'll talk again. Maybe we'll rebuild something. But it'll never go back to what it was. And honestly, that might be a blessing. Mom, on the other hand, hasn't changed at all. Still plays the victim to anyone who'll listen. My cousin Caleb told me she's been spinning this story about how I abandoned her and Logan in their darkest hour. Conveniently skips over the part where they committed identity theft and financially abused me for years. I've started creating a new kind of family for myself. One built on honesty, mutual respect, and actual care. Ryan and Lena. My climbing group. Ava and her amazing parents. People who love me for me. Not for what I can hand over. Just the other night, Ava and I were relaxing at my place when she asked me if I ever regretted cutting my family off. I thought about it for a minute, then said I regret not doing it sooner. I regret all the years I wasted trying to buy love that was never real. But leaving? That was the right move. She got it completely. Told me she was proud of me for holding the line. Said it takes real courage to walk away from toxic family when the world tells you blood is everything. The funny thing is, I feel more love in my life now than I ever did back when I was in contact with Mom and Logan. Because when you stop pouring yourself into people who only take, you realize how much love you have left to give to those who actually deserve it. I've even reconnected with my niece. We chat sometimes. I send her gifts on her birthday and Christmas. She's 11 now, bright, funny, way too smart for her age. I'm hoping I can be the steady presence in her life I wish I'd had growing up. I know there are people out there who'll read this and think I'm heartless. That family is family no matter what. To those people, I'd ask, would you stay in a romantic relationship where your partner manipulated you, stole from you, and only called when they needed something? Where they ruined your credit and disrespected your boundaries? Of course you wouldn't. So why should we accept that behavior from family just because we share DNA? Being related to someone doesn't give them a free pass to treat you like garbage. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by how we treat each other. By respect. By empathy. By showing up when it matters. Sometimes the healthiest family is the one you build for yourself. And that $39,000? I don't even see it as a loss anymore. It was the cost of my freedom. Expensive? Yeah. Worth it? Without question. So if you're reading this and you're stuck in something similar, know this. It's okay to leave. It's okay to draw the line. It's okay to put yourself first. Because you deserve better. We all do.